Hello, welcome back to another Craig and Dave Unscripted. So we've changed the branding. This is the first of a series of videos where we're going to be highlighting some of the excellent work that our team from Mission Encodeable have done. Now, if you're regular to our videos, we've had them on once before. So without any further ado, let me just bring them straight into the chat. So here is Harry and Anna from Mission Encodeable. Thanks for rejoining us, guys. For those people who don't know who you are, just very briefly, what have you been up to? Who are you? Just quickly introduce yourself to everyone.
Right, so I'm Anna and I'm currently in year 12. So we've both just finished our GCSEs. We've had a really long summer. We've done lots of work on Mission Encodeable and had a really nice time. Harry, do you want to?
I can very much agree with that. Yeah, I'm Harry, pretty much the same story there. But yes, we've spent a very long summer working on Mission Encodeable, which I think if you didn't catch the other one that we did a few years ago, Craig and Dave, or a year ago now, perhaps, we are the co-founders of Mission Encodeable, which is what we like to call the coolest way to learn to code. And I'm sure you'll hear much more about that from Craig and Dave in a moment.
And that's where we actually came across them that time ago. I mean, you spotted them, Dave, didn't you? Coolest way to learn to code. Who's these couple of 16-year-olds that think they've got the coolest way to learn to code? And we looked at the website and went, this is great. This is cool. Really great. This is cool. And anyway, we've been working together since. And as a lot of the community will know, if you're familiar with us, we've just released Time to Code. So we've got a website out there which is completely free. Harry and Anna's Mission Encodeable is completely free. But we've been working really hard together, the four of us. So these two websites actually have been designed to be completely compatible with each other. So Mission Encodeable and Time to Code can work together. So, okay, I'm going to throw it back to you guys, put you on the spot. What do I mean to that for our audience? So, what do I mean by Mission Encodeable and Time to Code can work together?
So when you say that, it means that our course is all broken down into levels that take you through a lot of fundamentals you need to know for Python, and so does yours. And essentially, our courses, they both align. So level 1 in our course covers exactly the same thing as level 1 in your course. So that means you can dip in and out of both what you feel like, and it's really good.
Yeah, that was it. And we had quite a few meetings and conversations about that, and it came up really well. It's like, you can progress through either website, and we're introducing the skills in the same sequence, and they're building on each other in the same order. So as you just said, we're going to look at the first level today. We start with input, outputs, and structured programs. That's level 1 for us on Time to Code, and that's level 1 on Mission Encodeable. And it just gives teachers and students out there way more, because you can start off there and go, I want a few more activities, I'll jump over there, or they're preferring that style, but now I want these flow diagrams from Craig and Dave, so I'll jump over there. And you've got this alignment, so we're giving you double the fun for free. Is there anything else Dave or Harry, you wanted to add on? Otherwise, I'm going to talk about, briefly introduce what we're going to do over the next sequence of videos and hand over to them. Really, anything else you wanted to add though on the overview?
I think you've pretty much covered it there, Craig. We really wanted to be in a place where a teacher wasn't having to make a decision. Do I use Mission Encodeable? Do I use Time to Code? We want you to be able to use both. So if you've done some of the programs in Time to Code, but you want a little bit more and you want a little bit more fun, then head over to Mission Encodeable, because if your students are up to level 3, for example, on Time to Code, then they're automatically at level 3 in Mission Encodeable. Similarly, if you're using Mission Encodeable as your primary resource, and why wouldn't you? But again, you want a little bit more for the students, or maybe you want to set them an assessment program, then head over to Time to Code and use some of our programs for that purpose. So we really wanted to just give you more. That's exactly as Craig said. So yeah, good stuff.
Right. So having said, currently at launch, I think we've both got 9 levels. Does that sound right? So
9 at the moment.
We've got ideas between all of us to expand this out, but let's not get into that. So we're going to do a sequence of videos branded like this with Mission Encodeable, where really we're going to hand very much over to Harry and Anna. I know me and Dave plan to do some videos on Time to Code specifically, but this is really on the Mission Encodeable side. So we're going to start with level 1 today. And if it's the first time you've seen Mission Encodeable, hope by the end of this, you'll go and check it out. So I'm going to hand over. So level 1, and again, just to iterate, this is level 1 for Mission Encodeable, and exactly the same skills and techniques are introduced with us. So level 1 is an introduction to inputs, outputs, and structured programs. And take it away. I may jump in with questions as I go through because I'm quite excited about your site, guys. But yeah, tell us what it is.
Well, that's
neither of you want to talk. Go on.
You can tell this is unscripted. We haven't said who's going to talk when.
Sorry. Well, yeah, I think Anna's screen sharing, but that there is it's the front page of level 1, which is the first sort of level of our Python course. So as we've just said, it's broken up into 9 different levels at the moment. So, and that's just where you can find out a little bit about what's in the level before you actually start. So there's a little video there you can watch, a bit like the ones we're making now, sort of telling you, brief overview. And then what you can actually do there is you can run the capstone project. So you can have a look at what it is that you're going to be making. One of the main things that we've worked very hard to do is to make Mission Encodeable really interactive. So there are lots of different projects that you'll build throughout our course as with time to code.
My first question, what's the concept of a capstone project then?
Well, good question. So a capstone project is what you'll do at the end of a level. So throughout our levels, we've got quite a few different projects that we'll do. And we generally tend to show you how to do those line by line. So you understand exactly what it is that you're doing. But a capstone project, we like to sort of, I'm not going to say sort of put you in the dark, but whoever's doing it, it's going to be just them. We'll give them a list of things to do, and it's up to them to try and make it work as best as they can with the help of their friends and teachers. So it's really putting everything they've learned into practice.
Perfect.
Showing the end point at the beginning is a really good teaching technique. And I don't know if you did that by chance. Being students, you won't necessarily be aware of principles of teacher training. We wouldn't expect you to, but what you've done there is what good teachers would do, start at the end and then start at the beginning, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think we both think that it's really good to show what you can actually do, because it's all very well saying, oh, you can do print statements in this level and you can do inputs, but I think it kind of helps to know where you're going and like all the stuff you can do with what you're going to learn, rather than like
show them what success looks like and where they'll be by the end of this, and then you can go in and learn, knowing where you're heading. It's great. Okay, so the capstone project, if you like, you've learned everything. Now you should be able to do this based on everything you've learned, and if not, I guess they can go back through the stuff in the levels and just everything they need to solve it is in the stuff that you've given them before.
Yeah, so it's definitely intended to be a bit like an assessment, I suppose. So if you do get to the end of a level, you attempt the capstone project, you can't quite do it yet, then definitely don't go on to the next level just thinking, oh, yeah, that's fine, whatever, because that's not the idea. The idea is that if you can't do the capstone project, you need to go back, have a look over what's in the level and try and figure it out before you go any further.
But also, just to add to that, it shows you what you're good at as well. And that can be nice to know that you can do stuff well, as well as what you might need to work on. So that's nice too.
Absolutely.
I can go
start the level.
Sorry, what did you say?
Sorry, I said let's start the level. Let's have a look.
Yeah,
Dave's excited.
Yeah.
So when you go into the level, you can see along the side all of these steps that you'll go through to get right to the finish. So this is quite a long level. It's probably the longest one, and that's just because we want to give you a really good overview of all the things that you're going to learn before you get onto slightly more complicated things. So you read the content that's here, you click through it, you can just see, or if there's something you want to work on, you can just go like straight to print statements, for example, if that's what you're finding difficult. And then every so often we have these projects, and these are meant to be really fun and really engaging and really cool. So maybe you'll display like some art to the console, which is always good. And most of the time, as Harry said earlier, we kind of walk you through it. So that's nice too. If you're just wanting to put your skills into practice, it kind of shows you what you can do with what you've learned, essentially. I don't know if Harry, you want to add anything about that?
No, I think that's all. I mean, it's definitely, we've very much intended to put those projects in there sort of just after you've learned something. So say that one there, ASCII art, you know, I think at that point they've just learned how to do print statements. So there's not a great deal that you can necessarily do with Python at that point, but we've tried to think really hard and we've gone, what's going to put those skills into action in a way that's actually fun, that's not just Hello World, for example. We do have Hello World because it's tradition, but I think it's nice that
just try and reinforce. You've just taught something new. Let's take a pause, reinforce it, have a go at it. Now we'll add in variables and constants and data types, and then you can have a go at something else a bit more tricky. Yeah.
We've also been really careful to make sure that we haven't got duplicate projects. This really has been a collaboration. So we both put forward all the projects that we thought would fit with our scheme, and we identified where we had the same projects in the same level, and we decided to tweak them so that there's nothing exactly the same in the two schemes. So you can be confident that the students are doing similar activities, but they're not the same activities. So yes, we've got Hello World in Time to Code, and then when you want a bit more fun, then you head over to Mission Encodeable and you do ASCII art, which is really what this is all about.
And of course, the benefit of making sure that we have different projects and programming challenges in each is when you need just a bit more to stretch and challenge a student who may want more, or you just want a bit more because the student isn't getting it. I'd like the same skills. I just want, you didn't have to come up with another way. It's like, okay, well, I've done all theirs on that. I'll jump. Oh, brilliant. I've got 3 or 4 more to do. So it gives you so much more material when you need to push a kid a bit further or just give a bit more support, or you just want to, you know, occupy a student who's finished. Go, well, I've got something different you can try over here. So yeah, that's another thing we were very careful of.
I think it's really good though that there's 2 different sets of projects. So, you know, if you finish ours, you want some more practice, then you can go and do Craig and Dave's over on Time to Code and vice versa. And I think they complement each other quite well too. So like one example, I seem to remember where there was a bit of a clash. I think we both had Fizzbuzz, which is a really good game. But if you build Craig and Dave's Fizzbuzz and maybe you're like, well, I want to do that again, but, you know, make it a bit different. Well, Mission Encodeable, we've come up with Boom Bang, which we think is a very much more exciting name. I think Imran Glory, who came up with that challenge a few years ago, probably, you know, you're really frustrated with himself now when he could have had that. But yeah, you can do both of them. So they work really well. They go
similar but different is how we often describe things like that. Similar tasks, but they're different. And that's exactly what you want. This is good stuff.
Yeah, carry on. Take us through a bit more if you've got anything else to show us.
Well, I will just, we can just have a quick look at the capstone project, which comes right at the end of the level. So it really uses all the skills you've learned in that level to make a final project. And then, as Harry was saying earlier, it kind of shows you what you're good at and what you're less good at and what you need to work on before moving on to the next level. So this one is lifetime statistics, which essentially, as you can see here, you put in how old you are and it tells you how old you are in like months, weeks, days, etc., etc.
And you get sure I want to know that. I'm a lot older than most students taking GCSEs.
Yeah, so you get what it does, what you'll need to do, and then we kind of break it down so you can kind of tick off, you know, exactly what you're meant to be doing. And then you just check it's all working as expected. And then you finish your level once you've done that. And Harry, do you have anything that you want to add to that?
Not necessarily about the capstone project, but I think the page you've just opened is very exciting. The new customizable certificates that we've got.
Now this page is very exciting. So once you've finished your level, you can get your very own certificate. So you can put in, my name's Anna, so I'll put in Anna. And then you can download your certificate. I'm really hoping this will work on the screen share. But if I click on this, if you
need me to share, if you need to share a new,
So you get this very nice certificate. And the certificates are the same from both Time to Code and Mission Encodeable. So if you finish level on Time to Code, you can also get the certificate. And you can see your name, the date you got it on, and then there's a little bit for your teacher to sign if you're doing it in a school. So yeah, that's really nice. It just is a nice, thing to have achieved, I think. A good way to round it off.
Brilliant. Is there anything else you want to particularly, because I don't want to ask you guys, is there anything else you're thinking, you know, of a typical level that you want to talk to us about, or anything in level 1 you think, oh, I want to show them that, I haven't had a chance yet?
Not that I'd say, no, but I think, I mean, what's really good about it is that with our levels, it's very easy to go through the list that's on the sidebar, and you can just select the bit that you're struggling with, and you can go and find a tutorial directly on that. So if you don't quite get, I don't know, let's say from level 1, I think we introduce subprograms quite early, which is a new thing that you've introduced to us. And if you're not quite getting subprograms and you get, say, to, I don't know, the 2nd or the 3rd project, you're thinking, I don't quite understand this, you can go how to structure your programs, and you'll get a tutorial on that. So it's really, really easy to just reference it and go back to it whenever you want to.
This is really it becomes nice when you do the capstone project, because you can then dive into the little bits like, oh, I know you to do that, but I learned that back then. I'll have a quick look. Sorry, Dave.
No, I was just going to say exactly the same thing. It's really good as a reference. We don't have as much textual content on Time to Code, and we didn't want to, because we're not trying to create 2 websites that are exactly the same. So you need more support, you need to understand a little bit more about something, then this is where you would dip into Mission Encodeable if you're using our resources instead. You mentioned the elephant in the room, Harry. I can't let it go without us having a little conversation about it. So level 1 is inputs, outputs, and structured programs. And people that are familiar with our version 1 of Time will know that I stripped inputs out of level 1 and decided that we would pass parameters instead. And a lot of teachers decided that was not such a good idea. So Time version 2 has reintroduced inputs back into level 1. Probably wasn't my finest hour, was probably a big mistake. And, you know, you were right to guide us in that direction and say you really need inputs in level 1. But structure programs, this is where we had a little bit of a discussion, didn't we? Because most teachers, and indeed you were taught this way, I believe, teach structure programs towards the end of the Python journey, rather than what we do, which is at the beginning of the Python journey. And, you know, we had to have some discussions, and there have been some compromises, both for Time to Code and Mission Encodeable, in order to get something that's completely compatible. And one of the key things here is structured programs, which you've now introduced into level 1. This idea that all programs, even the simplest program, is structured into sub-programs. And I know a lot of teachers will, you know, shudder in horror at that thought. I don't know if you've got any view and perspective on that. I mean, I've certainly, you know, got something to say about the reasons why I think that's important, because people using Mission Encodeable might think that that's a bit of a shock. So I should probably explain it. But anything from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably fair to say that we were initially, you know, skeptical of it, as I think probably a lot of people watching might be, but I think you have to sort of come around to it and think about it a bit. And just because you're used to doing it in one way and you always have taught it that way, it's worth considering whether you can get more benefits out of doing it another way. So, and that's like one of the main things of us working together, I think, has been you're both experts on the pedagogy of teaching programming. We're students, but we're very willing to take on ideas like that if there is something. And that's one of the main benefits I think teachers will see from this partnership, is that, you know, there are loads of ideas that we've been able to take from you and we put them into Mission Encodeable, and I think lots more to come. So it's definitely worth considering. And yeah, and I think we've come around to it quite well, and we've got all our programs now using a functions first approach, and I'll let you speak to the benefits of that in a second. You're really the expert.
What collaboration is all about. It's about teachers need to learn from their students. I think too many teachers out there probably think that they're the font of all knowledge and they know what's best. They've done teacher training, they've been teaching for 30 years, and a 16-year-old can't tell them how to teach. I disagree. What do you think, Craig?
No, you're absolutely right. And the first day you stop learning, and by that I mean as a teacher, the first day you stop learning as a teacher is the day you start to become, dare I say it, a worse teacher. I mean, our teaching practice has continued evolving every single day, and it continues to evolve, you know, now. I'm talking with you guys because you're real students undergoing the learning journey, and every student is different. And I think you're absolutely right. And the discussion I would have with teachers when we were going down functions first, because I never taught that way. I would leave functions and procedures until the end because they're hard. Of course, once I started getting into it, and I said, teachers, well, no, teach them at the beginning. No, they're too hard. Why are they too hard? They're too hard because you leave them to the end. But how important is it that they understand how to write a structured program? And once you finally get there, how hard is it to make them do it? Because they haven't been doing it all the time. It's only hard because you think it's hard and you introduce it at the end. It doesn't have to be. If you introduce it from the start, before you realize it, it's just the way it's done. And suddenly producing a well-maintained structured program is not hard. It's the only way you've known. And I'll be honest, it took me to get out of that because I'd never taught it that way. So you're always learning. I'm learning, Dave's learning, and I think you definitely can learn from you do learn from our students. Every single year, have a new cohort, you learn something new, you tweak it. I don't think you and I, Dave, in all the years we've been teaching, have ever taught exactly the same course 2 years in a row in the same way. There's always been some change.
No, absolutely right. And I completely agree with everything you said. That is the reason why we decided to do that. And we articulated that to Harry and Anna, and we all came to the conclusion. But similarly, we've learned from Harry and Anna because, they don't pull the punches. When we showed them Time to Code originally in its first iteration, you said to us, this is boring. I don't know why a student would want to do this. And I'll be honest, it was
quite that harsh.
It was like a dagger to the heart. It's like, oh my goodness, I've worked for hours on this. But you know what? You were right. You were actually right. And sometimes you have to listen to the students and hear what they're saying and adapt. And so we had to do some soul searching because we thought, well, what can we do? Because we want to make sure that our programs are based on the kinds of things you will get in exams, and they're not fun. No. So what we can't do is tip the balance to fun at the expense of the sound way to teach and what students might get in exams. And so we decided, well, the best approach then is to, rather than have one scheme, to have two. Time to Code can do the sound pedagogical principles and the exam focus. And then when you want to build fun and interesting projects, then you should be in Mission Encodeable. So that's what this was really, really all about. So yeah, Harry and Anna, thank you very much for showing us level 1. Absolutely fantastic. And we're so glad to be working with you on this. And we think what you've done is brilliant.
No, it is. And, you've dived into your A-levels now. So I can imagine this is going to go. And we've got big plans. The 4 of us have some big plans. So Time to Code and the 9 levels, and Mission Encodeable with the 9 levels. Well, we've got ideas. I don't think we're kind of at a stage to release that to the community yet, because you are rightly getting your head around the start of the A-levels. But this is the start of the journey together. And now we're in alignment with it. Hopefully we'll be just giving you more great stuff. Is there any sort of closing remarks you want to say to our audience, guys, before we wrap up?
Well, I would say definitely look at Mission Encodeable if you haven't already. It'd be great if you could go to missionencodable.com. Yeah, I was going to say it's like down there.
So it is. Yeah.
Enter now. Yeah, and hopefully you'll enjoy using it, and just let us know what you think. And we're very excited to be working together. Yeah. Lots more stuff to come.
And in the next video, we're going to do a deep dive into level 2.
Yes, indeed. Right. Well, we'll leave it there for now then, guys. We'll wrap that up, and we'll be back with Harry and Anna soon, and we'll see you for a level 2 of Mission Encodeable. Bye-bye.